I'm going to begin with Canada. It's been a somewhat bizarre period for Canada. Here's a country often called the nice guy when it comes to international politics. Canada, the good country, the good neighbor to America. And now you have a situation in just a short period of time. You had Canada fighting with China, of course. We all remember those images of Xi lecturing Justin Trudeau. And now Canada has picked a massive fight with India. And if you thought that wasn't enough in just a short period of time for Canada, you now have this particular moment in Canada where you have Canadian Parliament standing up and applauding, giving a standing ovation to a Nazi. What's exactly happening with Canada? Well, let's try and put together this special report.
Canada has not withdrawn its accusations on India. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has not provided any proof. India, on the other hand, has served significant information on Canada promoting organized crime. In fact, the Indian Minister of External Affairs, S. Jaishankar, has said that there's an ideological agenda behind Canada's accusations and that Trudeau's claims are riddled with inaccuracies. But India is still open to specific information that Canada could provide as proof. Listen to this.
We have actually been badgering the Canadians. We've given them a lot of information about organized crime leadership, which operates out of Canada. There are a large number of extradition requests. There are terrorist leaders who have been identified. So do understand that there is an environment out there. So that is important in a way to factor in.
Meanwhile, Western nations have shown great support for India, especially the United States. A former Pentagon official, Michelle Rubin, has said that if the United States had to choose between Canada and India, the nation would choose the latter, as the relationship is quote-unquote too important.
Probably understand that Justin Trudeau has gone too far. So this isn't a fight he wants to have. I suspect that the United States doesn't want to be pinned in the corner to choose between two friends, but if we have to choose between two friends, increasingly we're going to choose India on this matter.
The official also added that Canada's fight with India is like an ant picking up a fight against an elephant. You see, US-India ties work as a bulwark against China's assertive rise in Asia. Naturally, the US Security Committee believes that Trudeau has gone too far this time. Meanwhile, the Canadian Parliament managed to raise tensions further.
This was deeply embarrassing for the House and for Canada.
So much so that Trudeau went to the extent of saying that he is deeply embarrassed on behalf of the Parliament and the nation. Why? Well, the Canadian Parliament thought it would be a good idea to honor a war veteran who fought for the Germany's Nazi regime. This happened while the Parliament was hosting Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. A 98-year-old Nazi war veteran, Yaroslav Hunka, was sitting in the gallery when the Parliament Speaker Anthony Rota highlighted Hunka's presence. Rota did not use the word Nazi. In fact, he called him a Ukrainian hero and a Canadian hero. The Nazi war veteran was thanked for his service. The whole Parliament, in fact, applauded him and then gave him a standing ovation. Even Zelensky had a proud smile on his face. So who exactly were these people actually thanking? Well, it helps to look at Yaroslav Hunka's credentials. He served in the 14th Waffen-SS Grenadier Division during World War II. The unit was made of ethnic Ukrainians under Nazi command. The division was accused of killing Polish and Jewish civilians. So how did no one know that they were thanking a veteran who had served the Nazis? Did nobody do a background check on the man? When did the realization kick in? Well, 2 days later, the Parliament Speaker said that he regretted his decision. He apologized to Jewish communities around the world and he has now resigned from his post. You see, this one incident can have major implications beyond Canada's borders. The nation is already slowly straining its ties with India. Most of the West is leaning towards New Delhi, and now after honoring the Nazi war veteran, Canada has justified Russia's cause in the war in Ukraine. Russian President Vladimir Putin has pushed a narrative to denazify Ukraine, and Trudeau has added more fuel to the fire. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Well, let's now try and get a sense of how the White House and the entire American establishment is perhaps reacting to this entire India-Canada affair. Great to have with us Michael Rubin.
Hey, thanks for having me, Vikram.
You've been at the Pentagon, you're a senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute. You also had been expressing your views on how all of this is going down.
Yes.
How do you think it's going down? How do you think most people are reacting to this India-Canada blow up and dust up, happening at a time when I would have suspected the White House and others would have been trying to woo India a lot?
Well, without doubt, it caught us by surprise. This wasn't a crisis we saw coming, even if we had provided some of the intelligence after the fact of Hardeep Singh Nijjar's murder. That said, I think there's increasing frustration with Justin Trudeau, who has had any numbers of off-ramps to defuse this crisis, and he has not. The last point I would make is simply, if we were ignoring Khalistani terrorism before, if we were ignoring it after the attack on the San Francisco consulate, no one is ignoring it now.
The Indian side is saying that, look, I don't know what the evidence is here, but we've been giving you evidence for 40 years about the possible implications of Khalistani terrorism. And you've done nothing about it for 40 years. So the rules of law should presumably cover that. I guess what do you do in a situation like that if no one is heeding genuine concerns?
Well, we know what the United States does in situations like that. I mean, people forget, but we once tried to take our evidence about bin Laden to the Taliban, and they ignored us, and ultimately we went after bin Laden. We killed him. I see this as a corollary situation. Now, I don't want to say that it should be open season for every government everywhere against people they don't like, but the fact of the matter is, India is the world's most populous democracy. The United States is the world's second most populous democracy. We have rule of law, we have procedures, and if a country like Canada or Pakistan isn't willing to take reasonable steps, well, ultimately, it's the job of any democratically elected prime minister or president to uphold the security of his own people first and foremost.
So that's an interesting point you make. And the Indian Foreign Minister Jaishankar was just saying that the United Nations, the rule of law has to apply to everybody. But as you said, you can't have open season. You can't have everyone running around shooting people, if it doesn't happen. Between democracy, between allies, should there be a system where you say these are the legitimate concerns we've got and you need to take it on board?
Well, I mean, Vikram, there is that system. The problem was the Canadians were ignoring it. I mean, they really were becoming a safe haven for terror finance, a safe haven for extremism, a safe haven for terror. What's not permissible in any of the countries is incitement to violence, and that's what we've seen here.
Hoarding, saying assassinate Indian diplomats.
Yeah.
Acts of violence inside Punjab. And these are emotive issues, specifically because violence has now come down in Indian Punjab. There is no Khalistani movement inside
Right.
India. It's all happening in Canada.
If you drain the financial resources from the Khalistani movement, it will go away because it has no legitimacy whatsoever in Punjab or anywhere else in India.
Do you think this has damaged India's relations with the rest of the West, with the US, with others, or no?
Look, Vikram, there's very little that George W. Bush, Donald Trump, Barack Obama, and Joe Biden agree on. The only thing they do agree on is the importance of the U.S.-Indian relationship. We're seeing that tested, and we're seeing it come through solid.
Dr. Rubin, thank you so much.
Thank you, Vikram.